Welcome to this week's class. This week we'll be talking about advertising, sales promotion, and public relations. When we talk about advertising, we talk about the different types of advertisements that are out there. The first advertisement that is out there is a product advertisement. Now this is an informational or persuasive type of advertisement that focuses in on a particular product or service. Serves as a product reminder or reinforcement or compares it against another product. The other type of advertisement we'll discuss is an institutional advertisement. Now these focus more on the company and the institution. Usually it talks about advocacy, usually their competitive advantage, and also a reminder that the company is a company that you want to deal with. So the two types of ads that we looked at here are product or institutional ads. Let's take a look at a couple examples. This Levi's ad, introducing the 501c jeans. Is that an institutional ad or a product ad? Right, it's a product ad, the 501c jeans. The second one, Samsung's new Galaxy S3 phone. Is that a product or institutional ad? You're right, that's a product ad. And then of course we have Shaw's Flowers, which is another example of a product ad. Next, the Red Cross ad and Whole Foods ad we show here. Notice that there's not really any products being featured. This is an institutional ad. You'll remember after the incidents in the Gulf where BP had the famous spill in the Gulf, they ran a bunch of institutional ads to really try to improve their image. A lot of times institutional ads are meant to improve a company's image as opposed to sell a specific product. So taking a look at these types of ads, we have the milk, dairy farmers ad, and then the U.S. Air Force ad. What are they doing here? What's the type of ad? Is it an institutional or a product ad? Well, dairy farmers ad is very specific to milk, so it is a product ad, whereas the U.S. Air Force is talking about the U.S. Air Force, so that's an institutional type of ad. Now, when we're developing a type of advertising program, we want to first identify the target audience. Okay? Let's think about it from a college perspective, from LCC, right? Who do you think the target audience is for one of LCCC's advertising campaigns is? You're right. Probably a student, a younger generation student, probably 18 to 24-year-olds. They're probably the target audience. Now, what would be the advertising objective of their ad? Well, obviously LCCC wants you to sign up and take class. So that would be the objective. It would be a sales objective. Next, we have the advertising budget. And then there's different ways that we can set the advertising budget. Sometimes advertising budgets are set on a portion of sales. Sometimes it's set on a predetermined amount for a campaign. But an advertising budget is important to set up because it helps define the channels that are available to you to use. Now, when we're designing the advertisement, we have to figure out what type of message content we want. Is it going to be informational? Or is it going to be persuasive? Are we trying to inform the consumer or persuade them to do something? What type of appeal are we going to use? Are we going to scare them into using our product? Are we going to use sex appeal to get them to romanticize about the product? Or are we going to use humorous appeal? Now, there's many different ads out there that you can tell that there's several different types of ways that we can use advertising to help accomplish this. When designing the advertisement, we have to think of creating an actual message. Are we using a celebrity spokesperson? What type of ideas and artworks do we need? And what is the cost in creating an advertisement? It's important that when we're developing the advertising program that we select the right media, meaning what channel, right? Are we going to use TV? Are we going to use radio, billboard? Are we going to use the internet? It's important also to set realistic goals and expectations. How are we going to maximize the exposure? How are we going to minimize costs? It's important that we keep these two things in mind when trying to develop our plan. As an example of expenditures in advertising most companies do, you can see that a majority of business expenditures for advertising is still on TV. However, the internet has quickly caught them and is in a close competition with direct mail. So television, direct mail, and the internet are the most common forms, most common channels for advertising. Now, there's many advantages and disadvantages for all the different media alternatives that you have out there. Let's talk a little bit about the main ones. Television. Some of the advantages are that it reaches extremely large audiences, and it uses picture, print, sound, and motion for effect and can target specific audiences. For example, if we sell home products, we can target the home and garden television network or the DIY network very easily. However, some of the disadvantages to this form of advertising is that it's a very high cost to prepare and run ads. Short exposure times, either 15 or 30 seconds, and it's a perishable message that usually runs out, and it's difficult to convey complex information. So if you have a very complex product, sometimes it's hard to convey your information in that 15 to 30 second time frame. Radio, very low cost, and it can target specific local audiences. The ads can be placed quickly and be created very quickly using sound, humor, and different sound effects. These are some of the advantages. However, some of the disadvantages are that there's no visual element and there's a short exposure time, much like TV. And it's also very difficult to convey complex information, even more so on radio because there's no sight involved. Magazines. Magazine advantages, you can target specific audiences, high quality color, long life of ads, meaning that somebody could keep a magazine for months on end, even years on end. Ads can be clicked and saved and can convey complex information. Some of the disadvantages, though, are it's a long time needed to place an ad. It's a high cost. You have to compete for attention with other ads within that magazine. And often, if an ad is not working, you can't change it. It's very hard to change an ad once it's starting to run. Newspapers, obviously some of the advantages are it's an excellent coverage of local markets. Ads can be placed and changed quickly. Ads can be saved. There's a quick consumer response, and there's a low cost. However, some of the disadvantages are there's a lot of ads in the newspaper. Plus, the circulation is not as good as it once was with newspapers. A lot of times we use Google or national type of content curation devices to get our news instead of local newspapers. The next one, the internet. Some of the advantages are the video and audio capabilities, animation, and ads can be interactive and target specific advisors. Some of the disadvantages, though, that are animation and interactivity require large files, and a lot of ad blockers are being used now to block internet ads. However, when we talk about internet advertising, the king of the hill is still Google. In this graph, you can see that Google accounts for 65% of all internet searches and have the most opportunities for advertising over Yahoo and Bing. Now, when we talk about creating an advertising program, sometimes we'll work with an ad agency. Now, there's three types of agencies. A full-service agency, which does research, selects media, develops a copy, produces artwork, and coordinates everything for all marketing efforts. This is the full-service agency. There's a specialty agency. Now, these agencies usually concentrate on one area. For instance, Kuno Creative, the agency where I work, is a limited service specialty agency that deals specifically with internet and social media marketing. And then finally, we have in-house agencies who provide a range of services depending on a company needs. The types of trade-oriented sales promotion. Cooperative advertising. This is when the manufacturer pays percentage of the retail's advertising expense. A lot of co-op ads you'll see on TV for McDonald's. Brought to you by Northeast Ohio McDonald's. Or automobiles. When you're seeing an ad for a dealership, a lot of times they're paid for by the manufacturer of the product. And finally, public relations. Public relations is an important part of any integrated marketing communication plan. My wife is a VP of public relations and social media for the company that owns Kay Jewelers, Zales, and Jared. And the way that she describes public relations is perfect. It is to protect and to promote the brand and company. Now, a lot of different ways we can do this with PR. With news releases, a lot of wire services help you release news releases and get your message out. You can have news conferences where you can invite local media. Often my wife does this. She often appears on many TV shows as a spokesperson for the company. And then also public service announcements are a great way to get publicity for companies while helping out other important causes and initiatives. So that's it with sales, advertising, sales, promotion, and public relations. Now this week you'll be asked to read this chapter and to take the quiz. You'll notice that the quiz isn't due until after we get back from break. So again, have a fantastic week.